Hello, my friend. My name is Dr. Robert Ellis. I'm 78 years old, and for over 5 decades, I've had the privilege of walking alongside thousands of patients as they navigate the later stages of life. I've seen bodies change, energy fade, and expectations shift. But more importantly, I've seen how wisdom deepens with age and how our relationship with health and with food must evolve too. If there's one truth I've learned after all these years, it's this. Not everything that was good for you when you were young will still serve you well as you grow older. And this, perhaps surprisingly, is especially true when it comes to fruit. Now, I understand. It might sound odd at first. Most of us grew up with the simple advice, eat more fruit to stay healthy. And for the most part, that's been good guidance. Fruit is natural, colorful, sweet. It feels like a gift from nature. But what many don't realize is that the aging body doesn't process fruit the same way it did at 30 or 40. What once gave you energy and nourishment may now be contributing to inflammation, joint pain, or that growing sense of heaviness in your legs. Today, I'm not here to make you fearful or to take away the things you enjoy. I'm here to offer clarity, because what I've seen, over and over again, is that many of the people who feel worn down by age are actually being worn down by something far more subtle. The everyday foods they trust the most. Sometimes, the reason your knees ache when you stand up, the reason your ankles swell after dinner, the reason you wake in the night with muscle cramps, isn't just old age. It could be as simple and surprising as the fruit you're eating each day. So in this video, we're going to explore that truth together, not to scare you, but to empower you. Because once you understand which fruits may be silently working against you and which ones can actually help you heal, you'll have the knowledge to make small changes with big rewards. Let's begin. Now let me ask you something, gently but sincerely. Have your legs been feeling weaker lately? Perhaps the stairs seem a bit steeper than before, or it takes more effort to rise from your favorite chair. Maybe you've begun to notice that a simple walk around the block leaves you unusually tired, or that your knees ache longer than they used to after gardening or standing in the kitchen. Most people chalk this up to aging, and yes, aging does play a role. But after 5 decades of listening closely to the human body, I can tell you this. What we eat, especially after 60, can quietly erode our strength far more than the years themselves. You see, one of the most overlooked contributors to joint pain, poor circulation, and leg fatigue is sugar. And not just the refined kind that comes from pastries or soda, but the natural sugars found in fruit. Yes, fruit, that wholesome, colorful food we've all been told to embrace. In many cases it is good, but here's the truth. No one told us when we were younger. Not all fruits serve the aging body equally. When you reach your 60s and beyond, your metabolism slows, your circulation becomes more fragile, and your immune system more sensitive to imbalances, especially yeast and inflammation. And in this state, even a ripe banana or a bowl of grapes can become more of a burden than a blessing. What happens inside your body is subtle but powerful. Sugar from fruit, particularly fructose, enters the bloodstream more slowly than table sugar, but it lingers longer, especially when your body isn't burning energy as quickly as it once did. If there's a yeast overgrowth, and many seniors unknowingly have one, that yeast feeds off this sugar. In return, it releases byproducts like uric acid, lactic acid, and alcohol, all of which irritate your joints, cloud your circulation, and create the very environment in which pain and weakness thrive. The more sugar it gets, even from healthy sources, the more inflammation it can spark. And you may not notice it right away. But day after day, fruit after fruit, it builds. In the knees, in the ankles, in the stiffness that creeps in as you try to rise from bed each morning. Most of my patients never suspected it. One gentleman came to me certain that his daily fruit smoothie was keeping him young, but when he stopped the mango and the overripe banana and switched to blueberries and avocado, he called me 3 weeks later, astounded. The swelling in his ankles had reduced. He could walk farther, sleep better. "Doc," he said, "I didn't know I was making it worse just by trying to eat right. That's why I share this. Not to scare you, not to tell you to abandon fruit, but to help you understand that your body is different now. And it deserves a different kind of care, one that's mindful, informed, and tailored to where you are in life." In just a moment, I'll walk you through 7 specific fruits that, while healthy for some, may be secretly working against you, but I'll also share alternatives, delicious, healing, and gentle on aging joints. Because eating well should never mean giving up pleasure, it should mean choosing foods that love you back. Let's begin with one of the most surprising entries on our list, pineapple. It's bright, tropical, and often considered one of the healthiest fruits in the produce aisle. Many of my patients have told me they enjoy it regularly, believing it helps with digestion or provides a refreshing source of vitamin C. But the truth is, for those of us in our later years, especially anyone with joint sensitivity or digestive concerns, pineapple can quietly become a source of discomfort rather than relief. You see, pineapple contains a powerful enzyme called bromelain. In some contexts, bromelain can help with inflammation or aid in breaking down proteins. But for aging joints that have already been worn thin by decades of use, bromelain can behave more like sandpaper than a soothing balm. It can irritate the soft tissues around your joints, especially if they're already inflamed, leading to that burning, tingling, or raw feeling that many seniors describe but can't quite explain. And because pineapple is also highly acidic, that irritation doesn't stop at the joints. It can reach the lining of your stomach as well, eroding your natural defenses, interfering with nutrient absorption, and leaving you vulnerable to indigestion, bloating, or even acid reflux. What makes pineapple particularly deceptive is how pleasant it tastes. The sweetness masks the harshness of its internal chemistry, so you may never suspect it's the culprit behind that stiff ache in your fingers or the sour feeling in your stomach after meals. One patient of mine, a woman in her 70s, told me she had begun experiencing joint pain that would come and go, especially in the mornings. It wasn't until we traced it back to her daily pineapple snack that the pattern became clear. Within days of removing it from her diet, the burning in her knees subsided and her energy slowly returned. And there's another hidden concern. Canned pineapple, which many older adults prefer for convenience, is often packed in syrup. That syrup can contain up to 20 grams of added sugar per serving, the equivalent of sprinkling spoonfuls of sugar over each slice. For someone dealing with arthritis, insulin resistance, or circulatory issues, that's a dangerous combination. Worse still, bromelain can interfere with common medications, including blood thinners and blood pressure drugs, reducing their effectiveness when your body needs them most. So while pineapple may seem like a harmless, even beneficial treat, the kind of thing you'd imagine being served on a tropical vacation, the truth for many older adults is far less idyllic. If you've been experiencing joint stiffness, a burning sensation in your knees or fingers, frequent trips to the bathroom after eating, or unexplained heartburn at night, it may be worth stepping back and reconsidering how often pineapple is on your plate. There are gentler, kinder fruits out there, options that won't leave your body wincing in silence. And as we continue, I'll show you what those are. But first, let's look at the next hidden saboteur, the humble banana. Now let's turn to a fruit that nearly every household has in its kitchen, the banana. It's simple, convenient, and often praised for being rich in potassium, which is crucial for heart health and muscle function. Over the years, many of my patients have told me, "Doctor, I eat a banana every morning. That's got to be good for me, right?" And I understand why they'd think so. Bananas have long held a reputation as nature's perfect snack. But here's what I've come to understand after decades of working with older adults. What's perfect for a 30-year-old marathon runner doesn't always suit a 70-year-old managing inflammation, circulation issues, or fluid retention. And for many of my patients, bananas, especially those soft, spotted, overripe ones, were quietly making things worse. Let me tell you about Frank, the 72-year-old retired school principal I cared for some years ago. Every morning, like clockwork, he'd peel a banana and eat it with his oatmeal, believing it was keeping his heart strong. But he began noticing something strange. His shoes were tighter by mid-afternoon, his ankles looked swollen, and walking felt like dragging heavy sandbags instead of legs. He dismissed it at first. "Just old age," he said, but the pattern became too clear to ignore. After some careful observation, we connected the dots. His daily banana was acting like a sponge, drawing water into his tissues, leaving him bloated and sluggish. You see, bananas are high on the glycemic index, especially when fully ripe. As they ripen, their starches turn into simple sugars, which means they hit the bloodstream quickly and cause a sudden spike in blood sugar. For an aging body, already more insulin-resistant, this creates a wave of inflammation. Not only does it trigger fluid retention, especially in the legs and ankles, but it also contributes to joint stiffness, a kind that doesn't go away with rest, but lingers like a weight you can't shake off. And there's more. Bananas contain tyrosine, an amino acid that in certain individuals can increase the production of norepinephrine, a stress chemical. While that might offer a mild energy boost to some, in older adults it can contribute to tension, restlessness, or even insomnia, and I've seen it happen. One woman, well into her 80s, told me she'd begun waking up every night with a racing mind and a pounding heart. Turns out she was having bananas before bed, thinking it was a gentle way to end the evening. But here's the hopeful part. When Frank switched to pears, which offer a similar texture and fiber content but with far less sugar and inflammatory load, he saw a change within just a few weeks. "I can see my ankles again," he said with a laugh, lifting up his pant legs like a proud teenager. His gait improved, his swelling subsided, and he began walking longer distances without needing to pause. That's the power of understanding your food. Not just blindly following what's always been said, but tuning into what your body is trying to tell you now. If you've noticed your legs feel heavier as the day goes on, if your ankles puff up after breakfast, or if your joints feel tighter after your morning fruit, don't dismiss it. Your body is whispering, and it might be time to trade that banana for something a little kinder to your current rhythm. Up next, we'll take a closer look at another sweet offender, grapes, and why their sugar-packed charm might be doing more harm than good. Now let's talk about something small, sweet, and seemingly harmless, grapes. I've known many seniors who keep a bowl of grapes nearby, popping them one by one while reading, watching television, or chatting on the phone. "They're just grapes, doctor," one woman said to me, smiling as she offered me some during a home visit. "Better than cookies, right?" And yes, in theory, that's true. But when it comes to aging joints, compromised circulation, and stubborn swelling, grapes can be far more problematic than they appear. The thing about grapes is that they're tiny sugar bombs in disguise. A single cup contains over 20 grams of sugar, nearly the same as a candy bar. And unlike fruits with fiber-rich skin or fat to slow down digestion, grapes are rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream, causing sudden sugar spikes that your body, especially after 60, is less able to manage. That sugar doesn't just vanish. It feeds inflammation, stresses your joints, and in many cases gets converted into uric acid. And if you've ever woken up in the middle of the night with a sharp, hot pain in your big toe, or a throbbing, swollen finger you can't bend, you may already know what uric acid can do. It crystallizes in the joints like tiny needles. We call it gout. And while it was once known as the disease of kings from rich diets and indulgence, today I see it most often in older adults who unknowingly are eating high fructose fruits like grapes every day. Linda, one of my patients in her late 60s, came to me in tears after weeks of unexplained pain in her feet. "It hurts just to lay the bed sheet on my toes," she told me. Her doctor had diagnosed her with gout, but hadn't asked much about her diet. When I gently asked what she'd been eating lately, she admitted she'd switched to grapes instead of chips, thinking it was the healthier choice. And in many ways it is. Unless you're over 60, sensitive to fructose, or prone to uric acid buildup, we removed grapes from her diet and replaced them with tart cherries, which not only have far less sugar, but have also been shown to reduce uric acid levels. Within 2 weeks, her pain eased. Within a month, she was walking without limping and sleeping soundly again. And let me offer a gentle warning about raisins. Dried grapes are concentrated versions of everything I've just described. Sugar, fructose, and uric acid. Triggers packed into tiny bites. A handful might seem innocent, but it's like compressing all the sugar from a bunch of grapes into one small mouthful. The body still reacts, the joints still suffer. What's tricky with grapes is how easy they are to overeat. Unlike a banana or an apple where you usually stop at one, grapes are bite-sized. A few here, a few there, and suddenly you've consumed 2 cups without realizing it. And for an aging body, that's 2 cups too many. So if you've been struggling with swelling in the hands, unexpected joint pain, or fatigue that seems to follow your healthy snacks, consider this a quiet invitation to step back from the grape bowl. Listen to your body. It remembers things you might have forgotten. Next, we'll look at another summer favorite that may be tricking your body into fatigue. Watermelon, and why something that feels so hydrating might actually be leaving you more depleted than refreshed. Now let's talk about something that feels like pure summer. Watermelon. Just the word alone brings to mind memories of family picnics, hot afternoons, and the sound of juice dripping onto a paper napkin. It's one of the most beloved fruits in the world, and I'll admit, even now, when I see a cold slice on a hot day, part of me smiles. But I also know, as a doctor who has spent decades caring for older adults, that what cools the tongue may not always nourish the body, especially after 60. You see, watermelon plays a clever trick. It's made of over 90% water, so it feels refreshing, hydrating, and light. Many of my patients tell me they eat it precisely because they want to stay hydrated. But what they don't realize is that tucked inside that watery sweetness is a sharp spike of fast-acting sugar, more than most people expect. And when that sugar hits the bloodstream, it creates a temporary rush of energy, followed quickly by a crash that leaves the body tired, stiff, and, ironically, more dehydrated than before. Let me explain why. When your body receives that much sugar all at once, especially in liquid form, without fiber to slow it down, your kidneys go into overdrive. They try to flush the excess through your system, which pulls out not just sugar, but essential electrolytes, things like potassium and magnesium that your muscles and joints rely on to stay relaxed and stable. What's left is that dragging sensation in your leg, the nighttime cramps that wake you out of sleep. The strange feeling of exhaustion that creeps in even though you've eaten. Carlos, a former Marine in his 70s, came to me one summer frustrated and confused. "I'm eating healthy," he said. "I cut out soda. I stopped beer. I've been eating watermelon instead, but I'm more tired than ever." We looked closer, and sure enough, he was eating large slices multiple times a day, thinking it was helping him rehydrate. His potassium levels were low. His legs ached at night. He was sweating out nutrients faster than he could replace them. When we swapped out the watermelon for papaya and added a pinch of sea salt to his morning water, something shifted. Within 2 weeks, the cramps stopped, his energy returned, his sleep deepened. "I thought I was doing the right thing," he told me. And he was. He just didn't have all the facts. There's another layer to consider too. Lycopene, the red pigment that gives watermelon its beautiful color. In younger bodies, lycopene is often helpful, but in older digestive systems that have slowed, that same compound can build up and cause bloating, nausea, or loose stools, especially when eaten in large amounts or on an empty stomach. And seedless varieties, they're often bred to be even sweeter than their seeded counterparts, which means even more sugar, even faster absorption, and even more work for your aging organs to manage. So while watermelon may feel like a harmless, joyful part of summer, and in moderation it can be, It's important to understand that for an older body, what hydrates isn't just about water content. It's about how that water is carried, how it's processed, and what it leaves behind. If you've been feeling more tired after meals, waking up with leg cramps, or sensing that your energy is slipping away despite eating light, it might be time to rethink that daily bowl of watermelon cubes. Your body might be asking for something gentler, something less sweet, but far more supportive. Up next, we'll explore another breakfast favorite that often shows up in orange juice glasses and lunchboxes, the mighty orange, and why its acidic nature might be stirring up more trouble than you realize. Now, let's turn to a fruit that's practically a symbol of good health, the orange. Bright, cheerful, and packed with vitamin C, oranges have been promoted for decades as the perfect start to any day. And for many of us, they were just that. I can still remember my mother squeezing fresh orange juice every morning, the scent of citrus in the kitchen, the clink of the glass on the table. It felt like a ritual of wellness, but the truth is, what once supported a young body can, over time, become a silent strain on an aging one. You see, as we grow older, our tissues, especially around the joints and digestive tract, become more sensitive to acidity. Oranges, while rich in nutrients, are also rich in citric acid. For someone in their 20s, that acid is usually handled with ease. But for someone in their 60s or 70s, it can begin to wear away at the lining of the stomach, irritate the joints, and even contribute to conditions like acid reflux or gastritis. I've had many patients over the years describe a burning sensation in their hips or knees that flared up shortly after their morning orange juice. It doesn't feel like arthritis, they'd say. And often it wasn't. It was the acid doing its work, quietly, persistently, from the inside out. There's also the issue of natural sugars, which in orange juice come without the fiber that normally slows their absorption. When you drink a glass of juice, it's not just one orange, it's often 3 or 4 condensed into a single serving. That's a lot of sugar hitting your bloodstream quickly. Your body responds by releasing insulin, and for many older adults whose systems are already more insulin resistant, this creates a cascade of effects: inflammation, stiffness, and unexpected energy crashes later in the day. I remember Margaret, a 69-year-old patient of mine who had been drinking orange juice every morning since her 30s. She was proud of the habit. "It keeps my immune system strong," she said. But she also struggled with worsening hip stiffness and nighttime heartburn. Her dentist, too, noticed unusual enamel erosion around her crowns and fillings. When we gently removed the juice from her morning routine and replaced it with a low-acid vitamin C source, like baked red pears or a small serving of kiwi, her symptoms began to shift. Within weeks, her hips felt looser, she was sleeping through the night, and her mouth no longer stung when she brushed her teeth. Another hidden concern with oranges, especially for older adults, is their effect on iron absorption. Oranges enhance the uptake of iron, which can be beneficial in some cases, but for people with undiagnosed hemochromatosis or iron overload, a condition more common than many realize, this can be dangerous. Excess iron builds in the body and creates oxidative stress, which contributes to joint damage, fatigue, and even heart strain. And unfortunately, most people don't know they have this condition until symptoms become serious. Let's not forget the way oranges can interact with medications, especially statins or blood pressure drugs. The acid and enzymes within citrus can interfere with how these medications are absorbed or metabolized. I've seen patients struggle with unstable blood pressure for months, only to discover their morning orange was disrupting the very medication meant to help them. So if you're someone who's waking with stiffness, feeling more reflux at night, or noticing increased dental sensitivity or hip pain, I encourage you to take a closer look at your citrus habits. Oranges aren't the enemy, but they may no longer be the friend they once were. In just a moment, we'll explore another crisp, tart favorite, the green apple, and uncover why its sharp bite may be doing more than just waking up your taste buds. And so, my friend, we've come to the end of today's journey. One that began with something as simple, as familiar as a piece of fruit, and unfolded into something far deeper. What I hope you've seen today isn't a list of restrictions, but an invitation to listen more closely to your body. Not the body you had at 25, but the body you live in now. A body that's carried you through decades of joy, grief, effort, and love. A body that deserves gentleness. A body that still wants to thrive, if only you'll meet it where it is. You see, aging isn't about giving things up. It's about choosing better, more wisely, more kindly. And when it comes to the foods we eat, especially the fruits we've trusted for so long, sometimes all it takes is a small change to make a big difference. Less swelling, easier mornings, longer walks, deeper sleep, and above all, freedom. So here's my challenge to you this week. Take just one fruit we talked about, maybe the banana, maybe the orange, and gently replace it with one of the healing alternatives I've shared. Watch how your body responds. Pay attention to the quiet improvements, and let that be the beginning of something new. If this video has helped you or reminded you of someone you love, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, because we're all walking each other home, and sometimes the smallest insight is the one that makes the biggest difference. Thank you for spending this time with me, and until we meet again, stay curious, stay kind to yourself, and as always,